So what if I told you there's a playbook that can actually reliably turn a hesitant maybe or even a hard no into a sale? And I'm not talking about pressure or cheap tricks, but a really deep understanding of human psychology. Today, we are diving deep into Alex Hormozi's legendary $100 million closing playbook, a system that wasn't dreamed up in some fancy boardroom. Nope, it was forged in absolute desperation, and it went on to change, well, pretty much everything. To really get the power of this playbook, you have to understand the nightmare that it came from. This isn't just some business theory, It's a survival guide, written when things were at their absolute worst. I mean, just imagine saying that. Those were Alex Hormozi's actual words to his girlfriend, Layla, back in January of 2017. He had absolutely nothing. He was bouncing between motels. His car was wrecked. He felt like a complete and total failure. He was literally telling the person he loved to just get out while she still could. And the thing is, this collapse happened so fast. It was terrifying. It wasn't some slow decline. It was a 90-day catastrophe. You've got personal tragedy, financial ruin, legal trouble, everything hitting him all at once. He was worse than broke. He was $100,000 in the hole on a credit card, all to gamble on this one last-ditch business idea called gym launch. And here's the really cruel twist in all this. The ads for his new business, they were actually working. Leads were coming in. But his sales team, they couldn't close a thing. So every single day, he was just sinking deeper and deeper into debt, hemorrhaging over $3,000 a day on ad spend with almost nothing to show for it. The engine was running, but the wheels just weren't catching traction. So there he is in the super tense sales huddle, and after Hormozi just blasts his team for their terrible performance, a team member kind of timidly raises his hand and asks this question. And right there, that was the light bulb moment. The problem wasn't a lazy or unmotivated team. They wanted to sell. They just didn't know how. It wasn't a motivation problem. It was a skill problem. That one simple question sparked this huge, fundamental shift. Hormozi realized the problem wasn't his team's effort at all. It was his own definition of what closing even meant. He had to basically redefine the entire job from the ground up. So here's the new definition, and this is key. Closing isn't about arm-twisting someone into saying yes. It's about empowering them. It's about giving a prospect who is stuck the power to overcome their own avoidance and just make a real, genuine decision, whether that's a yes or a no. See, the goal is a decision, not just a sale. So think about it like this. Any ad campaign you run basically sorts your audience into 3 big groups. You got the yeses, these folks are ready to buy no matter what. You got the no's, they're unqualified, they were never going to buy anyway. But that third bucket, the maybes, that's the largest and by far the most important group. These are all the people sitting on the fence. This one simple phrase really gets to the core of the whole playbook. Look, any business can take money from the people who are already screaming yes. But true growth, the kind of growth that builds empires, that comes from skillfully and ethically converting the maybes. That's where the real craft of selling actually lives. Okay, so if the big goal is to convert all those maybes, how in the world do you do it? Well, Hormozi developed this simple but really profound psychological framework to understand what's actually holding them back. He calls it the onion of blame. So when a prospect is stuck on maybe, it's because they've basically given their decision-making power away to something else. They're avoiding the choice by blaming some external factor. Your job isn't to argue with them, it's to help them find their power again. This blame, it comes in these predictable layers, just like an onion. The outer layer is always circumstances. I don't have the time, or it's too expensive. You peel that back and you often find the next layer. Other people. I need to ask my spouse. And then at the very core, the final layer is self. The fear of making a mistake or the fear of repeating a past failure. A great salesperson just patiently peels these layers back one by one. All right, so understanding the theory is one thing, but how do you actually use this in a real conversation? Well, the playbook gives you specific reframes designed to handle each layer of that onion. Let's take the classic time objection. We've all heard it. Instead of just accepting it, the playbook reframes it. You don't argue with them. You agree and you pivot. Their lack of time isn't a barrier. It's the very reason this solution is so critical for them. It turns their biggest pain point into their biggest motivation. It's brilliant. And what about money? The playbook reveals a really critical insight here. When someone says it's too expensive, they're almost never actually talking about the price. They're talking about the value. So the playbook teaches you to immediately stop defending the price and start building the value until it just massively outweighs the cost. So, did all this theory and training actually work? Well, the numbers, they kind of speak for themselves. In January 2017, that rock bottom month, they did about 100 grand. Hormozi then created and drilled this playbook with his team every single day. By December of that same year, they had cracked over $1 million a month. And just 1 month after that, exactly 1 year after he told Layla he was a sinking ship, they collected over $1.6 million. This wasn't luck. This was the direct result of a system that turned a team of unskilled salespeople into an absolute army of closers. So, what's the big takeaway here? This playbook is about way more than just sales tactics. It's a whole philosophy, and it's centered on empowerment and understanding. These rules from the playbook really say it all. It's about expecting no and not being afraid of it. It's about building so much trust that you can literally transfer your belief in the solution to the prospect. It's about genuinely caring more about their success than your commission. Because in the end, champions don't just sell, they close.
And this all comes back to the true meaning of making a decision. You know, the word decide actually comes from the Latin word decidere, which literally means to cut off. So when you make a true decision, you are not just selecting one future, you are actively cutting off every other alternative.
See, both action and inaction are decisions. Both of them cut off possibilities. So the final question the playbook really leaves us with is this: by choosing to act or by choosing to wait, which future are you cutting off for yourself?